Hi, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of the unboxing of this package here. This is from DeskBandit over here in Western Australia. Last time we looked at the inks that were in the package. This time we're going to take a look at the pen. So join me now down on the mat. We'll take a look at the pen, we'll ink it up, we'll do a writing sample, and I'll give you my first impressions of it. So here we are down on the mat. So remember last week we took out all the inks from here, which left us with only one item. So let's take a look at what was left. And it's this. This is a fountain pen from Wingsung. This is the Wingsung 698. Let me get rid of the box. There we go. Let's take this out of this little envelope. So the Wingsung 698, this has got a steel nib, it's got a fine nib, and it cost me a total of 24 Australian dollars. It's one of the nice things, yes, I can get this from AliExpress, where it may take up to 3 months to come, or I can get it from DeskBandit, pay virtually the same, and I had it within a matter of days. So let's take it out of this box. There we go. We can get into the top. I'm just going to use my scissors off the camera so you can't see how dangerous I'm being, and then open this up. So what have we got in here? Well, the first thing we've got is some instructions. These are all in Chinese. Then we'll go and take a look inside. And what have we got here? So we've got the pen unit. We've got what I'm assuming is silicone grease, and we've got the cap. Just get rid of this packaging. So the silicone grease, that's obvious, that's there. If I need to make any repairs, if I need to take it apart, I've got this so I can make sure everything's greased up and nice and ink tight, for want of a better word. The pen itself, I'm going to pop it together. Fetch in my pen stand. So this is in the black and silver colour. It's very reminiscent of a TWSBI Diamond 580. And in a few minutes I will fetch one of those in so we can look at them side by side. Let's take a quick tour of the pen. So at the top here we've got a silver finial. It's got some lines there so it catches the light. Let me just try moving this around. Hopefully you can see the light being caught in that. So we come down at the bottom of that finial. I think it's on a separate piece, is the clip. The clip here, it's got Lucky on it, and it's really nice and springy. So the cap, it's the same width all the way down. It's a nice dark colour. It's still transparent, still translucent, but it's like it is that black colour. I think it looks quite nice. So this comes down here into this band. Here we've got wings, and then on the back we've got a couple of Chinese characters and then 698. I don't know if this is deliberate or if they just missed it. I would have expected that to say Wingsung rather than just wings. After that band, we come down to a little bit more of the plastic of the cap, and then there's a step down to the main body. The main body, again, same gorgeous colour, that black translucent colour. Seems to be the same width all the way down till we get to the end where there's another silver band. And then we've got the end finial, which is what we use for filling. This is a piston fill. So twisting, let me try again. This is a piston fill. It's very, very tight. So twist it open and then twist it back. I don't see a lot of movement of that piston. So I'm thinking this pen won't actually hold that much ink. It's fine. I mean, as long as I'm aware of the limitations, I can live with it. Make sure that cap's on nice and tight. So the cap, it comes off in half, just under one turn. That's really nice. And that reveals this Wingsung nib. Now to me, the nib seems quite small, but when I look at it, the 580, again, that's very similar. As I said, I'll fetch the 580 in a minute. The section is got that lip at the bottom, so it'll be interesting to see how that gets on and digging into my finger. It seems very narrow and it tapers out till we get to a silver band just below the threads. I'm a bit concerned that that might be too narrow for me, but certainly initially it doesn't feel too bad, but I'm not writing with it at the moment, I'm just holding it. So once I start writing, we'll have to see how that feels. As I said, the nib, it's a fine steel nib. There is a gold nibbed version of this, and I do have that on order from China. So I'm waiting on that, but that could be another 2 to 3 months before it arrives. When it does, I'll obviously do an unboxing video for that, but then at a later stage, I'll do a comparison video comparing the steel nib, the gold nib, and also a TWSBI 580. Let me just change over the stand. I'm going to fetch that back in again. Now what I'm going to do is fetch in that TWSBI 580. Here it is. There's certainly a lot of similarities. I would say the Wing Sun is definitely, I wouldn't say it's a copy, but I would say it's inspired by. The Wing Sun seems to be a lot thinner and it's more tubular. It's more like a TWSBI Eco in terms of the fact that it's a tube. But again, even compared to the Eco, that's a lot slimmer. The end finial, not so big as I see on the TWSBI, but I would say there's definitely a similarity there. Let me take off the caps on both of these. Keep knocking that poor pen over. So there it is. The nib, when you see them compared, it's very much the same size, I would say. There's not a lot of difference in it. The nib is definitely a lot plainer. The pen, as I said, seems a lot thinner. But let's see how well it writes, because at the end of the day, all that matters with a pen is that we're able to use it to get ideas out of our head and onto paper. And that'll be interesting to see how well the Wing Sun does at that. So I'll clear these all off and we'll take a quick look at the ink we're going to be using. So today's ink, it's by Diamine and it's called Sherwood Green. This is a gorgeous green colour. Now, yes, I know we've got a black in the pen. Some people might think, well, that can maybe be grey or black inks. Me personally, I think with a black pen, you can use any colour you want. And let's be honest, you can use any colour you want with any colour pen. But for myself, I do like to try and keep like a bit of matching of colours in there. And with black, I can match anything. So I think this will be a nice combination. You know, we've got a nice darkish ink. And we've got that darkish colour in that body. So let's fetch in the ink. We'll start off with the dragon. This is going to be holding my ink bottle. It's a really flash ink bottle holder. I've just got something I got from a plumber's store, which usually will take a sample bottle. Because this is a Diamine bottle, so we've got a little bit more size on it. And we go Sherwood Green. That just fits in there quite nicely. I do this because Gary's clumsy. And I don't want to end up with ink all over my cork mat because that would look disgusting on camera. So let's fill this up. So as I said, it's a piston filler. So first thing to do, make sure that piston is right down at the bottom. Well, this looks good, doesn't it? The pen's just falling apart on me. Good job I didn't have any ink in it. Now hopefully, there we go. All I did was put that back in and it has seemed to pull it together. But that's something I need to keep an eye on. So let's pop the ink in there. So I'm drawing some ink up. I take it back down again and draw another load of ink up. Just wipe off the nib so I get rid of any excess. I don't know how well you can see this. There's not a lot of ink in there. I would say I'd be lucky if there's 1 milliliter of ink. But it's enough to test it with, and in one respect, I don't mind it not having a massive fill. Because one of the things I like to do is change my inks up. So as long as I've got enough in there to give me, you know, maybe a week or two of writing, I'm not going to complain too much. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen it put a lot more in that barrel. I would say it's not even using 1/8 of the barrel for actually having ink in it. The rest is either wasted space or the mechanism, which as we saw was very flaky. Right, time now for our writing sample. So I'm going to fetch in my trusty notepad. This is Optic Paper by Oxford. Really nice fountain pen friendly paper, and it's the paper I use for all my writing tests. Let's see how well it writes. So we've got here a Wing Sun. .698 with a fine nib. The ink, Diamine Sherwood Green. love the colour of this ink. And to be honest, with the line that's coming out, I'm actually quite pleased with that. You know, it's not really gushing, but it's a fine nib, so I don't expect a gusher. I may try and increase the flow at a later time, just to see if I can get that slightly wider line. But as is, yeah, not too bad. Drying times. Sorry, media. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. And finally, 1 minute. So even after a minute, we've still got some wetness coming off here. So although it's a fine nib, I was a little bit surprised by that because most of my fine nibs, they tend to be dry after a minute. But that could be a property of the ink rather than the pen. I'll need to try out a number of different inks in this pen to see really if it is to do with the nib or to do with the ink. For my final writing sample, I'm going to move the microphone close to the paper so you can hear it write. It's not too bad. It's a little bit of smoothness to it. It's not digging into the paper. It's not scratching. It's not like writing on glass. There's definitely feedback there. I actually quite like it. Just going to rest the pen in my hand and draw that over the page. So there's no pressure on the nib. There we go. And we're still getting a nice amount of ink coming out. A new test I'm going to try doing. I don't know how well I'll go at remembering to do this each time. See if there's anything in the way of line variation. So I am putting a little bit of pressure on them down strokes, so we're getting a little tiny bit of variation there. Not really that much though. There we go. I enjoy writing with this pen. It's a really nice writer. So what are my first impressions of this Wingsung 698 with the fine steel nib? I think it looks nice. As I say, I believe it's inspired by that TWSBI Diamond 580, but you certainly couldn't say it's a copy, whereas, yeah, inspired by is the correct word. It's a nice writer. It really is nice and smooth. It really feels nice the way it glides over the paper without scratching at it. And for a lot of my fine nibs, I find they're more scratchy than smooth, so that's nice as well. It's a smallish nib, but again, it's taking that inspiration from the 580, which has also got a small nib. So that again, not really something to worry about. What I am concerned with is this mechanism. It doesn't use a lot of ink. As I said, for me, in one respect, that's a good thing for me because it means I don't have the same ink in it for weeks on end. That's one of the problems with the 580. If I fill that, I may be writing with it for 6 weeks, whereas with this, I may only get 1 or 2 weeks out of it. I would hazard a guess, and this isn't scientific, this is just me guessing, that I'm getting the same amount of ink in here as if I was using a converter rather than using a piston filler. I'm very concerned that that piston mechanism came apart so easily. What I may end up doing is eventually stripping down the pen and seeing if there's any way for me to secure that so it doesn't happen to pull out when I'm trying to fill it. Why I say that, I can see myself having ink go all over the place if for some reason I manage to pull that mechanism out whilst I'm trying to put ink into it. But all in all, I'm actually quite pleased with this. It's a really nice pen. It's a really nice writer, and as I've said earlier, and I'll keep saying time after time, the only reason the pen exists is to help you to get ideas out of your head and onto paper. This pen does that. Yes, I've got some concerns about it, but not enough to stop me from enjoying using the pen. And when we look at the fact it was only 24 Australian dollars, you know, price-wise, that's really reasonable. For a TWSBI Eco, I pay more like $35 to $40. For the Diamond 580, I'll pay about $75. So I could get 3 of these for the price of 1 Diamond 580. Would I buy another? Yes, I think I would. There's some other colours in this. I may get those as well. I need to play around with this a bit more. I need to use it more just to see what the limitations are. So I need to see how long that fill of ink lasts me. I need to see any issues that I may get on other papers with any skipping, because at the moment we've only used it on this one sheet. But overall, yeah, enjoyable pen, nice pen, glad I've got it. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on the Wingsung 698? Do you have one? Do you plan to get one? Please drop a comment down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Liking and commenting on a video, well, it just helps with the YouTube algorithm so that other people can get to see the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.